It's Tuesday. It's time to get started. All right, let's get going here. So, intensity rewire. Why do I say that? Why do I want to have that conversation with you? Well, the key is understanding that this intensity rewire is about understanding that you are, and we'll get rid of the secret sauce there. There we go. This intensity rewire is all about you having more of what you want and less of what you don't. So, what happens now? What happens now when you start to get hot under the collar, when you start to get a little bit wired, when you start to get a little bit frustrated, a little bit agitated? It's not that we don't need intensity. Good morning, everybody on Instagram, on the gram. Good to see you all. I've got a special interview I'm doing later on today. I think it's around 10 o'clock with Dr. Stormy Hill on relationships. It's going to be fun. So, the question I have for you today is, how intense can you get today? How intense can you make today? Seriously, how intense can you make it? Now, some of you, it might already be way too intense. Some of you, it might already be way over the top intense, and it's not of a positive nature. Does that make sense? It's not of a positive nature. So now the question becomes, what can I do with this intensity? See, we can manifest from any state. We need a high level of intensity when we want to manifest. When you want to go to work, when you want to change things, when you want to do things in a different way, you're going to need some intensity. The six-figure income that you want, or five-figure monthly income that you want, or seven-figure business that you want, or to retire your mom or your dad, those things that you want, it's going to take some intensity. Wouldn't you? Drop an I in the chat if it's going to take some intensity. The challenge is sometimes when our intensity takes over, when our intensity starts to kick us square in the cheeks, it's changing our intent. Well, it's allowing our intensity to be of negative in nature. It's allowing our intensity to be not of the state which we choose. The reality is that you need some intensity. Hey, Kelsey, how are you? We need some intensity. The challenge is most people don't know how to take the negative intensity and manifest from it. My bride has taught some pretty amazing workshops here out at the ranch when we do some live events. And in doing these live events, she has taught people how to, it's easier for us to get mad about something and then manifest right from there. So if you're sitting in this state of, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time, I don't know why more people aren't joining my business, I just don't know, I scroll too much, I do this, I do that. You've got some things that just aren't working in your favor. Jim Rohn would say, that's a clue. Maybe they are working in your favor. Maybe they are working in your favor. And here's the reality. How do you shift that? How do you rewire that intensity? You have to have your DMP in place, your definite major purpose in place. You have to, I know I don't normally speak in absolutes. In order for you to survive, in order for you to get through, in order for you to have more of what you want, you're going to have to make some serious shifts. The challenge is that if you're 20, you might get there by your 40 because you believe in, well, I got to do it incrementally. I don't want to upset people. I don't want to disappoint people around me by changing who I am too fast. I don't want to change my identity too fast. Well, I can let you in on a little secret. That's the problem. We're wired for greatness. We're wired for quantum. You're wired for quantum. Here's how I can prove it. You want me to prove how you're wired for quantum jumping? Think of your first kiss. Yep. Think of your first kiss. Think of that first kiss that you have. And when you think of that first kiss, I want you to now think, was that a dog I was kissing, or was that, and that's usually the ladies, right? The thing is that it probably made you smile. Why? Because it was wildly emotional. It was highly intense. And it was a very intense moment. Some of you might be able to remember the first time you took it a little bit farther and then took it a little bit farther. And some of you may have a memory where it went a little too far and it created some challenges and you were worried about, what do I do next? See, these are all intense moments. Now, some of you may have gotten married and had a beautiful wedding and a beautiful day, and you can remember that, and it was intense, and you remember it. Sometimes you can remember bad things with intense memories as well. See, the intensity doesn't know whether it's positive or negative. It just knows the intensity. It just knows the vibration of intensity. It's the focus and language and meaning that we put to it that change the way we see it. It's the focus and the language and meaning we assign to the intensity that causes us to have our outward bound state. So how do we manifest? How do we create a DMP? Well, we've got to get intense about it. Most people's desires, most people's wants and wishes, they're about as sexy as a potato sandwich. Not so sexy. So how do we get intense about it? You've really got to sit down and you've got to do some deep work. Chris Voss in his book, Deep Work, talks about this idea, not Chris Voss, Robert Cialdini talks about it in the book, Deep Work. Chris Voss is about negotiations. Cialdini talks about this deep work. We do such shallow work. If you can't think of a post to make on your social media, it's because you're doing shallow work. You're doing status work versus state work. I want to check the box because I want to say I made a post so that 6 months from now I could say I made 375 posts and nobody liked my stuff. Well, listen, if you post out a bag of dog poo on fire, maybe somebody will step on it. It's about the state. It's about the intensity. Well, I need to make a post. It's 8 o'clock. I need to make a post. I can promise you, it's with society today so steeled and so conflicted about who to believe and whether somebody's a scam or somebody's going to be there tomorrow, or do I trust them, or they look like my cousin who I don't like. 1,001 things. The only way you'll overcome it, the only way you'll bust through the gate of mediocrity is through intensity. Now, some people create their intensity in their outward expressions. Right? There's times when I go stand on stage, when I'm asked to MC around the world or speak around the world or do lives or Zooms, there's a certain level of intensity I show up with. I'm kind of known for crazy shirts, loud shirts, loud shoes. See, I create a level of intensity around me that forces people to elevate their vibration because it's different. I want to be seen as different so that when I speak, I don't have to have my words be the changing force. Can you set the stage? Can you set the stage? Listen, if you walk into a house and it's a surprise birthday party for somebody, you don't know the person, but it's a surprise birthday party. How did you figure out it's a surprise birthday party? I want you to think about this for just a second. How do you know it's a surprise birthday party? What are the indications? What are the indications that are happening around you in this room that you know for sure 100% that it is a surprise birthday party? What are some of the clues? Well, there's a cake. Maybe there's wine and beers and coolers. There's people hiding, wearing little hats on their heads. You follow me? So when you show up somewhere, what are the clues you're giving somebody? What is the anticipation that you're giving somebody so that when your words show up, they match it in intensity? Is this making sense? So how do you rewire this intensity? Understand that you can go from an absolutely frustrated, aggravated, agitated state. Napoleon Hill said that every problem comes with it its own seed of its own solution. If you're wildly upset, you have to become consciously aware that you made yourself upset. See, it's your responsibility, your ability to respond. And the situation didn't make you upset. That's the pre-programmed result, solution, prediction, performance that you have that's tied to that result. Lose your job. You've got a result. Lose a distributor. You've got a result already locked in that brain of yours that you should play. You've already got a movie you should run. Does that make sense? You've already got a movie you should run. So now the question becomes, how do you rewire that movie? You've got to become aware of it. This is a phenomenon of addiction to approval. Well, if I'm upset, I'm not to anybody's approval. You're looking for the approval of the idea. You're looking for the approval of your state. How many of us have ever seen a little child? How many of us have ever seen a little child who's wildly upset and they're like, oh, and you turn away and they're like, and as soon as you look back, they start crying again. Drop a C in the chat if you've ever seen that. Little child crying, 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 and you turn away and they stop crying. That's addiction to approval, ladies and gentlemen. It gets wired in from the very beginning. It gets wired into how do I get attention? Do you realize this is going to hurt? This is Taco Tuesday. Take it with you. Some of you get upset so you can get attention. It's the only way you know how to get attention. How do I know this? Because you know somebody like that. How many of you know somebody who they're miserable and that's how they get attention, because somebody's going to go, are you okay? Is everything all right? Can I help you? It's the only way they've been wired to get attention. So if you're kind of like that, you need to become aware of it. That is an addiction to approval. And when you understand that, you can shift it. You can instantly shift it. The way you instantly shift it is you have a new program, a new set of self-talk designed, wired, programmed in. You got to practice it when you're not frustrated. You got to practice it when you're not upset. You got to practice it when you're not looking for attention. That is going to make me, what's the thing in the last 24 hours that sets you off in a tizzy? You know what sets a lot of people off in a tizzy? When a flight is late. When a flight is late. Everybody on IG, great to have you here. Thanks for showing up. The thing that sets people off is the Uber is late. The food delivery is late. Somebody didn't keep their promise. Somebody didn't keep their word. All of this to say, you have a decision, you have a choice to make right now. In this moment, Sadhguru says, one of the top 50 most influential people in all of India, it says, in this moment, choose joy or choose misery. Your response that you currently have programmed, sometimes is a misery response. We need you. I need you to be intense. I need your intensity. We need to have your intensity. I want you wired. Probably won't hang around you if you're wired for negative. And if we have 60, 70,000 thoughts a day, 50, 60,000 of them are repetitive and 80% of them are not in our favor and are not in our favor, we're wired to find what's wrong, right? You've all seen the little video of the guy writing the math problems, and he writes 1 times 9, 2 times 9, 3 times 9, and 9 times 9 he puts down as 83, and everybody giggles. And he goes, what are you all giggling out? You got number 3 wrong. You got number 9 wrong, professor. He says, but what about the other 10? Nobody's giving you credit for the other 10. They're going to find out what's wrong. Why? Do you think we're wired for negativity? Do you think we're wired for addiction to approval? Do you think we're wired to find out what my daddy always said? There's 2 ways to have the tallest building in town. Build yours bigger or tear everybody else's down. And most people are good terror downers. So what do we become defensive at? What do we need to become good at? We need to become good at tearing down buildings. I would encourage you, start building yours up. Start building the foundation. Start being the third little piggy and build your house out of bricks. Bricks of belief, bricks of faith, bricks of confidence, words of reassurance. And you'll begin to rewire that negative intensity to work for you. Head on over to SeanGMurphy.com to get on the email list. I've got a challenge coming up this Friday on how to unlock your DMP, your definite major purpose. I've got a special guest along with me, 15-time best-selling author, international speaker and trainer, sold over $25 million from the stages. Mr. Scott Schilling is going to be joining me. So get on the email list so that you don't miss out all of the dates and times. And I'll see you where? I'll see you at the next unwiring conversation. Till then, bye for now. Thanks, Instagram. See you around 10 o'clock with Dr. Stormy Hill. And she's got an event coming up this Friday as well. Bye for now. And YouTube, love you tons. Love you touches. Love you tons. I appreciate y'all so much. Hey, listen, check out the shorts. Some kind of cool views.